On January 4th, 2023, 37-year-old mother of three Anna Walshe seemingly disappeared from her home in Massachusetts. She didn't show up for work that day, and everybody was wondering where she was and what could have possibly happened. And as the onion of this case started to peel back layer by layer, disturbing details started to emerge. Details having to do with lies, betrayal, fraud, deception, and just all sorts of horrific, haunting details. And the question still on everybody's mind is, where is Anna? Hey guys, I'm Elise. This is 10 to Life. Let's dive right in.
10 to Life with Elise starts right now.
Anna Walshe is a 37-year-old mother of three from Cohasset, Massachusetts. She's a very beautiful woman, standing at 5'2" and around 115 pounds. She has brown hair, brown eyes with an olive complexion. Those who knew Anna say that she speaks with an Eastern European accent. She is a native of Serbia and came to the United States in 2005. Before coming to the States, Anna was commuting back and forth between Serbia and Washington, D.C. on summertime work visas. She is a very career-driven woman who was just full of all kinds of levels of intelligence. Anna is multilingual and able to speak not only English and Serbian, but also French, Spanish, and Croatian. She graduated with her bachelor's degree at the University of Belgrade in Belgrade, Serbia, and then obtained her master's from Ivy League Cornell University in New York. Anna went on to work many hospitality jobs before her most recent job with Tishman Speyer as their regional general manager in Washington, D.C. and the Baltimore area. She commuted during the week to Washington, D.C. for this job and stayed in a townhouse in the area that she had purchased back in March of 2022 for $1.3 million. Tishman Speyer is a group of real estate owners, operators, developments, and fund managers who have worked with other companies to acquire nearly $80 billion in property value, one of those even being the development of the New York Yankees Stadium. So a pretty important job that comes with a lot of responsibility. With this, Anna enjoyed the finer things in life. She could be seen traveling all over the world, trying the best restaurants, and even attending high-class parties and galas. According to friends and court records, Anna and her husband Brian married in 2015. Anna is also a mother of three small children, between the ages of 2 and 6 years old. Anna was also always very active on social media. She shares inspirational messages on her Instagram, her day-to-day activities, and her travels. It's no secret that Anna lived an extremely social life and that she enjoyed herself. However, all of her social media went radio silent on New Year's Day, and it has not been active since. So now let's change gears for a second and talk about Anna's husband, Brian Walshe. Well, it's a little harder to find out information on him because unlike Anna, who is a very much active person on social media, Brian is the complete opposite. Brian is 47 years old and is the co-founder and CFO at LETS, which means Leadership and Effective Teamwork Strategies, which actually seems to be shut down as there is virtually no information on this company at all. Which, let me just go ahead and say that's red flag number 1. And let's go ahead and do what we do. And when you notice a red flag in this case, put it in the comments with the timestamps. So I'm just going to start right there, although I'm sure there already was one, but let's call that red flag number 1. The couple has been featured in Boston Magazine, and Brian has also been featured in the Boston Globe as a Boston-based international art dealer. However, with all of this and this fancy-looking life and this facade that one might believe when reading the paper, Brian does have prior legal issues and therefore is actually currently on home confinement and wearing an ankle monitor. See, in November of 2016, a buyer found 2 Andy Warhol paintings for sale on eBay. The paintings were 2 of Warhol's Shadows, which is a series of untitled abstract canvas paintings from 1978. The original listing price for the paintings was $100,000. In the advertisement, the eBay seller was Brian, and he included a picture of an invoice for the 2 Warhol shadow paintings with Warhol Foundation numbers and a purchase price of $240,000. Which I'm going to go ahead and just say right here, this is red flag number 2 for me as we're going through it, because he's saying he's an art dealer. But just because you're selling paintings or artwork on eBay does not quite equate to an art dealer. Not in my opinion anyway. Don't come for me. That's just my opinion, so I'm calling it a red flag, guys. Now, this buyer on eBay believed that the paintings were authentic because it had the Warhol Foundation numbers, it had that invoice. By all accounts, these were authentic pieces. So between November 3rd and November 5th, 2016, the buyer arranged with Brian to purchase the artwork outside of eBay for $80,000. This is something that oftentimes happens on these websites, whether it's Facebook Marketplace, eBay, any of these sales websites, and you always have to be extremely careful because a lot of the time people will try to skirt around the fees and they'll try to bribe the seller saying, hey, if we go off-site, go offline, I'll pay you less, but eBay won't take the fees. So essentially you may actually be making equal or more. Is that okay with you? But what happens when you do that is you don't know who you're buying or selling to. And if it's off-site, you don't get a lot of the protections that come with those websites and the guarantees and the security of where your money is being transferred and sent to. But in any event, that's the deal that these two made outside of eBay. So Brian and the buyer signed a contract which specified that the buyer had 3 days to terminate the contract and get a full refund if the buyer did not accept the artwork. On November 7th, 2016, the buyer's assistant flew to Boston and met Brian in person to retrieve the paintings and provided him with the cashier's check for $80,000. According to bank records, the cashier's check was deposited that same day into an account that Brian controlled, and $33,400 of it was subsequently withdrawn in the following 2 weeks. The day after purchasing these paintings and retrieving them, the buyer, of course, wanted to take a look at them, wanted to look at the authenticity of them, and wanted to check them out, knowing that that window was closing for this 3-day guarantee or refunds policy that Brian put forth. So on November 16th, the buyer removed the paintings from the frames and found no Warhol Foundation authentication stamps and noticed that the canvases and staples looked new. So when he compared the paintings to the photographs from the eBay listing, they did not look identical. The buyer concluded that the paintings he purchased from Brian were not authentic. The buyer then repeatedly attempted to contact Brian, who initially did not respond, and then was making excuses for the delay in refunding the buyer's money. But Anna was actually completely innocent in this whole painting scam, according to the federal affidavit filed in 2018, which sought permission from a federal judge to search email accounts, phone records, the residence, everything. Now, although she was not ultimately prosecuted for her alleged role in the fraud, the affidavit says that she participated in the sale of the paintings, accusing her of having communicated with the purchaser who got duped by her husband Brian. With this crime, Brian was facing up to 50 years in prison and a fine of up to $1 million combined. Now, I gotta say, Anna was a stand by your man kind of woman. We know she wasn't officially charged or implicated with that art scandal, but she still took it upon herself to write a letter to the courts to sing her husband's praises and speak about what a great guy he was. And this letter was dated from just last year, just a few months ago in June of 2022. In this letter to the court that was dated June 1st, 2022, Anna said that she was grateful her husband was able to remain at home as the art fraud case was weaving through federal court. She said that Brian has been working consistently on breaking the past habits of his family, and we are all looking forward to the new chapter in his life. She went on to say, "My mother suffered a major neurological event which caused heavy hemorrhaging. Not only did he save her life, but he has also brought her and the entire family comfort and joy during the course of her illness. She has made about a 95% recovery, and she keeps repeating that she wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her son-in-law, Brian." She added that Brian has focused on charity work, has served as a coach within his Transformational Leadership Academy, all while caring for his ailing mother and their 3 sons. She went on to say whether it was walking for World Peace Day in Dorchester or stopping by the Pine Street Inn in Boston to drop off food and sanitary supplies, Brian has been teaching our young boys from an early age how important it is to share the joy and be in contribution with time and resources. Just really trying to paint him in this beautiful light with a beautiful paintbrush on a beautiful canvas, doing the works, trying to make this man who she loves look as though He is remorseful. He's going to do better. He's not the guy you think he is. He's such a good guy. He saved my mother's life. He's such a good father figure, singing his praises. But the government was set to agree to a sentence that included no jail time at all. However, after Brian allegedly embezzled funds from his late father's estate while out on bail in the Warhol case, they are now seeking a sentence currently of 30 months in federal prison. That's right, just when you thought he couldn't get any scummier or scammier, he went and caught another charge in federal court when he plundered his deceased father's estate after finding out that he had kept him out of the will. Now, let me just tell you about this for a minute. His father had the ultimate mic drop moment in the will, saying, and I quote, "My best wishes, but nothing else." Ugh, that would catch anybody off guard. I don't want to say anybody, but anybody who's expecting to receive something from a will. So according to court filings, Brian illegally helped himself to more than $100,000 in cash, paintings by Miro and Dali, pottery, art glasses, and even a car belonging to his father's estate, which he then sold off. Just a scummy, selfish, gross, deceitful thing to do. Very, very tacky and in very poor taste. But what does that have to do with Anna? She seemingly wasn't a part of this paint scandal. She, to our knowledge, had nothing to do with Brian essentially robbing his dead father's estate. So what does any of this have to do with Anna? Well, this year, on Wednesday, January 4th, police received a phone call simultaneously from Anna's husband, Brian, and her employer, Tishman Speyer. Anna was missing and had not shown up to work in 3 days, which, according to her employer, this was extremely unlike her. However, we later learn that the employer is the one who made the initial missing persons report for Anna. So just keep that in mind, that Brian did not report his wife missing for 3 days. Anna was last seen at her home in Cohasset, Massachusetts between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. on New Year's Day. Brian stated that Anna was taking a rideshare from her home to Boston Logan International Airport in an attempt to catch an early flight to Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport on January 1st due to there being an emergency with one of the properties that she was in charge of in Washington, D.C. However, after further investigation, there was no rideshare scheduled for the morning of January 1st. I think we stopped for a minute there, but let's go ahead and plop another red flag right in there. There was no rideshare ever scheduled. In addition, it was also determined that her cell phone pinged in the area of the home on the 1st and the 2nd, which was after Brian said she had left, indicating that Anna was not in Washington, D.C. In addition, investigators were able to confirm with all of the airlines that Anna did not board a plane at all during this time frame. Red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. Anna had a flight from Boston to Washington, D.C. originally booked for January 3rd. This was her original flight back to D.C., but remember, there was that emergency, so she was trying to catch an earlier flight, according to Brian. However, she didn't board this flight either on the 3rd. Meanwhile, officers from the Metropolitan Police Department in D.C. searched the townhouse, but found no sign of Anna there anywhere. Investigators stated that Anna's cell phone has been off since January 1st, and that her credit card and debit cards have also been inactive since New Year's Day as well. Cohasset Police Chief William Quigley said, "It's very difficult, as you know, nowadays not to leave an electronic footprint or some type of footprint with your debit cards or your credit cards, and none of these things have been active since the 1st of the year." However, investigators did notice that her cell phone pinged in the area of her home on January 1st and January 2nd, as I mentioned earlier, meaning she was in that area during the time frame and not in Washington, D.C. like Brian had claimed. Brian told police that on January 1st, he had 3 hours allocated to take his mother home from a surgery that she had, but that his mother had recovered from the surgery quicker than expected and had driven herself home. However, he still used that time that he had approved and allocated to go visit her and run errands for her. So Brian says in that time, he left the couple's home without his phone, got lost on the way to his mother's house, and then later went to both Whole Foods and CVS. Red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. First of all, why are you hopping in your car, leaving your phone behind? You're getting lost on your way to your mom's house. How many times have you been to your mom's house in the past? That doesn't make much sense. And then he says later he went to both Whole Foods and CVS. However, prosecutors said there's no video surveillance or receipts showing him at either of the stores. And on January 2nd, he went to take his son to get some ice cream, but it's unclear if that actually happened or not. However, it was very clear, according to the affidavit, that surveillance video from a local Home Depot showed that Brian had bought $450 worth of cleaning supplies, including mops, a bucket, and tarps. His trip to Home Depot, in which he wore a surgical mask and gloves and, get this, paid in cash, red flag, was during that time frame that he says he was allotted to pick up his kids from school that day, which also, school wasn't in session that day. Like, bro, you gotta work on your lies, because between the art and this, it is just not looking good for you. District Attorney Lynn Belland said in a statement that he's on surveillance at that time on January 2nd, even though he said he never left the house. Furthermore, police found that Brian's phone traveled to Brockton and Abington, communities where he is not approved to travel to, because remember, he's still on house arrest. Police decided to obtain a search warrant for the Massachusetts home, and upon the search, they discovered blood as well as a damaged, bloodied knife in the basement of their home. Investigators spent days searching for Anna, searching in Cohasset as well as searching in her home and even the surrounding areas. Police detectives from all different nearby departments, including Cohasset, have all been involved in the search for Anna. Officers from the Metropolitan Law Enforcement Council have also participated in the investigation as well. Hours after the Norfolk District Attorney's Office took the lead on Anna's case, her husband, Brian Walshe, was arrested on January 8th. January 9th, police escorted Brian out of the Cohasset Police Department in handcuffs while he was smiling ear to ear, and then taken to his arraignment hearing to be informed on the charges that he is facing.
Antoinette, Anna Walshe has not been seen since January 1st, but today this case got a whole lot more complicated since her husband is now the target of this investigation. This morning started with Brian Walshe being taken in handcuffs from Cohasset Police Department to his arraignment at Quincy District Court. Once there, he was charged with misguiding a police investigation and intimidating a witness. Walsh's wife, Anna, went missing on New Year's Day and has not been seen since. Prosecutors say he didn't report her missing, but rather it was her employer that reported her missing on January 4th. This weekend, investigators got a search warrant for inside the Walshe home, and prosecutors say that's where they found traces of blood.
Blood in the basement. Blood was found in the basement area, as well as a knife, which also contained some blood.
Prosecutors go on to say Walshe is on surveillance video at a local Home Depot on January 2nd, buying a list of items.
He's on surveillance at that time, purchasing about $450 worth of cleaning supplies. That would include mops, bucket, tops, T-Vex, drop cloths, as well as various kinds of tape.
After a brief arraignment, Walshe, who was awaiting sentencing on a separate federal case, was ordered held on a $500,000 cash bail. On that separate note, Brian Walshe was awaiting sentencing on a separate, unrelated federal case, and because of that, he was under house arrest and wearing an ankle bracelet that will likely play into his whereabouts since January 1st, but for now, he's being held on a $500,000 cash bail at Norfolk County House of Correction.
Brian Walshe was charged with misleading an investigation and intimidating a witness, and the judge set the bail at $500,000 cash and set the next hearing for February 9th. A not guilty plea was entered on Brian's behalf, and he appeared in court in a long-sleeve gray shirt and spoke only briefly to say that he understood the charge. But this case was about to turn on its head, and things are about to get a lot more interesting.
New twist in the disappearance of a Cohasset mother. Her former home up in flames. The mother of three, Anna Walshe, now missing for 5 days. So is the fire a coincidence or is it a clue in this mystery? Thanks for joining us on this Friday night. I'm Lisa Hughes. The fire broke out as crews were searching the woods near Walsh's home. WBZ's Julie McDonald is tracking the breaking details tonight live in Cohasset. Julie?
Lisa, this has been a wildly busy day in this Cohasset community. It started this morning with an official press conference from police. They detailed the last hours that Anna Walshe was seen at her home. overnight New Year's Eve and into those early morning hours on Sunday. But since then, there have been multiple scenes in this town not far apart from each other. The police investigation searching the woods here, and also a really involved fire scene, a smoky fire that was difficult for crews to get to, that destroyed the home where a new family lives and she used to. State police spent hours Friday searching about a square mile of the woods near Anna Walshe's Cohasset home.
It's not normal that she's missing, so we automatically feel that she's in danger by the mere fact that she's missing.
Police say the 39-year-old wife and mother of three was last seen around 4 a.m. Sunday, leaving for Logan Airport to return to a work emergency in Washington, D.C.
At this point, we cannot confirm that she actually got into a ride share in Cohasset. We can further, we have confirmed with the airlines, and that's been a challenge, that she did not board a plane this week.
There's been no activity on her phone or bank cards. Walshe wasn't reported missing until Wednesday.
She is a formidable, strong, confident woman, and just a loving wife and mother to, she always says, three beautiful boys, who she loves so much.
As police searched the woods near her current home, firefighters responded to Walshe's most recent address, a home they sold to a new family less than a year ago.
The fire ended up getting up into the attic space, and we had extreme difficulty trying to access the attic. And once the fire started coming out through the roof, we had to pull all members out of the building.
And the fire marshal's still on scene there over on Jerusalem Road, investigating the cause of that significant fire. The family who lives there now, a couple, their toddler and a nanny, who were all home at the time this afternoon around 2:15. They got out safely. Back here at the search scene, police have wrapped up for tonight, but say they will be back out looking in this area tomorrow, Saturday. Live in Cohasset, I'm Julie McDonald, WBZ News.
Defense attorney Tracy Miner said that Anna Walshe's employer reported her missing because Brian had first called them to ask about her whereabouts. The attorney also noted he has given multiple interviews with police and consented to search of his properties, even stating that he has been incredibly cooperative. Meanwhile, police spent time searching a trash transfer station in Peabody in hopes to find answers on Anna's disappearance. Several people could be seen digging through the trash at Republic Services transfer station on Forest Street. The search included a dumpster that was moved there from an apartment complex where Brian's mother lives.
And this is breaking news in the search for a missing mother of three in Cohasset. Investigators right now are at the scene of a garbage facility in Peabody. The I-Team Cheryl Fiandaka is here with what she has just learned. Cheryl?
Well, Lisa, investigators are leaving no stone unturned looking for the missing mom. Now, sky eye overhead as investigators wearing protective suits and police officers with dogs are searching through mounds of trash in Peabody. Sources say it's part of the investigation into the disappearance of Anna Walshe. The Cohasset mom has not been seen since New Year's Day. Sources say police also impounded the family car. The I-Team is learning there is evidence it was recently cleaned. And investigators have been working to retrace Brian Walshe's steps using surveillance cameras, cell phone towers, and the electronic bracelet Walshe has been wearing as a result of a federal case where he's charged with selling fake Andy Warhol paintings. Lisa and David, we are following this story and have much more coming up.
All right, good reporting there, Cheryl.
Investigators also announced that they had allegedly found searches in Brian's internet history for how to dispose of a 115-pound woman's body, and also for information on how to dismember a body. Not very smart, my guy, not very smart. Google searches will always be like the death card for a lot of these moron criminals, but you're not even vaguely searching how to dispose of a body. You're point blank asking how to dispose of a 115-pound woman's body. My guy, how are you going to ever explain that away in court? And with all of these new discoveries, it has since switched investigators' focus, of course, from a missing persons case to one revolving around the suspicion that Anna may have in fact been killed. Now, that search at the Peabody trash transfer station yielded incredible results because it has now been announced that they not only have found trash bags with blood on them, but they have found a hatchet, a hacksaw, a rug, and used cleaning supplies. Now that is extremely unsettling and kind of, to me, if it's all true and if they can match it, a nail in the coffin, because we've got the Google searches. We've got the bloody knife in the basement of the house. We've got blood at the house. Now you've got a hacksaw that ties back to the Google search of how to dismember a body. You've got bloody bags. You have a hatchet, which I'm sure is going to have her DNA, her hair, trace evidence all over it. So I'm guessing the walls are closing in and it is just a matter of time before he is formally charged with her murder. Clearly, this guy doesn't have all the light switches on up top, because he not only did those insane searches, which is so specific and crazy, but now all of this evidence left behind that directly ties into those searches. So it's my belief it's probably only a matter of time, and probably by the time I upload this video, that Brian is formally charged with Anna's murder. And I also believe that they are probably going to recover remains shortly, in the very near future. But we still don't know the why. Now, as of right now, Anna still has not been found, and by the looks of it, law enforcement is passionate about finding this woman as quickly as possible. I'm curious that if Brian is the one who committed this, what would be the motive? Could this be a life insurance claim? I would be extremely surprised if Anna does not have a pretty hefty life insurance policy, considering her job, her apparent income, and net worth. It's troubling to say the least. And maybe Brian got into some more money trouble and had to try to come up with something quick, and this was his way of accomplishing that. We know he's been greedy in the past with the false sale of the Warhol paintings, with basically robbing his dead father. I mean, we know from Brian's history that he is quite the con man. So honestly, I would not be shocked if that were the case. I don't know, you guys, this case is so weird, but I plan to follow it extremely closely, and I will update you guys as new information is brought to light, because they just recently found all of this trash, literally last night before I started recording this, that is tied to Anna's disappearance and suspected murder. So I'm guessing that as all of these details start unfolding, it's going to be pretty rapid. We're going to be finding things out left and right. So I will keep you guys updated. I wanted to at least get this video out so that hopefully it will generate tips. Anybody who knows Anna, who spoke to her, who may have known Brian's whereabouts and where he might have done an evidence or body dump, so that all of that helpful information can be shared with law enforcement. But as new details arise in the case, I'm going to jump on here, or of course my Instagram @_AnnieElise, and I'll update you guys along the way. So if you've been following this case closely as well, because it is heavily out there in the news right now, and you want to stay updated, take a quick second right now to hit that subscribe button so that you'll be notified as soon as I post those updates. All right, guys, thanks so much for taking the time to listen with me today. Let's hope for answers for Anna. She has 3 young children between the ages of 2 and 6 years old. Their father is now in prison, and probably my guess is gonna stay in prison for the rest of his life. He's been on house arrest. He's just a shady, dicey guy in general. They need their mom, or they at least need answers of what happened to their mother so they can then live with a family member who is actually equipped to take care of them and raise them to be good humans. So please keep this entire family in your thoughts and prayers, and let's hope that we get some answers as to where Anna is or what happened to her very soon. Thanks again, guys, and also please don't forget to give this video a quick thumbs up on your way out to help with the algorithm, because then it helps this video get seen by more people, so that anybody who does have information about Brian, his character, statements he made, things he may have said in passing, whatever it may be, the more people who see this, who might have had an interaction with him, the more likely it is that that interaction or detail will be shared with law enforcement. So do your thing. All right, guys, thanks again for taking the time, and we will talk very soon. Until the next one, stay safe.